Hey, welcome to Hub tonight. I know what's happening right now. We got you. You open this and it started and you think it's an editing mistake because we got instruments at Hub and you're like, oh no, wrong video. You're on the right video.
No,
okay?
Justin was teaching me guitar lessons.
Oh, yeah. We just wanted to let you in on our little guitar lesson, our weekly tutorial. No, check it out. We just recorded worship for this Sunday, and I'm pretty excited about Church at Home this Sunday. Yeah. It's going to be powerful, awesome worship time, and we have a guest speaker. His name's Calvin Forbes, and he's continuing in our summer road trip series. It's a great message. I know you're going to love it. The reason I just wanted to highlight that is I know in the midst of the summer, it's possible to kind of get out of rhythm. And even though we've had 18 months of no rhythm, it's still possible to get further out of rhythm this summer. I want to remind you, continue to be involved in Church at Home. Keep watching those. Keep sharing those out. It's a powerful thing that's happening, and we are hearing testimonies nearly weekly of people who are being reached by this content. And so thank you for being a part of that, for helping us share that, and for continuing to say, I do church in this season. I'm still in church. I'm still part of church. Of course, we have worship nights in Vancouver, and we are working in worship nights in Toronto, but it's not the same. Those are intended to be in the room, special kind of moments, but this is how we're continuing to do church until we launch. So I just want to remind you this Sunday, be on the link. Let's get in that chat, be involved, be active. And today in your hubs, I'm so excited hearing week on week. Kobe, why don't you just kind of serenade? This is literally what happens all week long in the office is there's a guitar somewhere and Kobe's doing something on it. But tonight I just wanted to say in your hub as you gather together, a little bit of a joyful reminder. It's awesome seeing people who are now gathering in person in hubs. That's a cool thing. And for those of you who are continuing to gather on Zoom, I want to commend you as well that you've prioritized community and relationship when it would be easy to do the opposite. Hey, today I want to draw our attention to Sunday. The message I spoke out of the book of Joshua, that thought that a river is running through the road to our destiny. I don't know if you've ever felt that before, but you need to know this, that in between where you are now and where you're going, there will
I feel like that's all I can do right behind you talking. It was a great. It's a really great hub, though.
I feel kind of like the music you're playing behind was a river that ran through the destiny that is this hub challenge.
Oh, jeez.
So maybe we'll just not serenade.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just hang.
Yeah, we'll just hang.
Yeah, we'll just hang. So in between where you are now and where you're going, there's like a river that runs through this river of impossibility, maybe a river of doubt, perhaps a river of fear, perhaps a river of just the unknown. Maybe it's a river of regret or guilt. Whatever it might be, I think kind of individuated to each of our lives, there is barriers that seem impossible from where we are to where we're going. And a reminder to us is that God is a God of the impossible. Yeah. And so he's the one who can cause a river to stop and pile up in a heap like he did in that story. And I believe that a story like this in Scripture is a reminder to you and I to not have our eyes on the river, but keep our eyes on the promised land. To not have our eyes focused on the obstacle, but keep our eyes focused on the promise. God has promised great things for your life. Yeah. He has incredible things in store for you. And as he leads you there, you need to be ready and aware to do the impossible. You need to be ready to step out maybe in a way that you haven't before in faith. And so before we get into any other questions today, the first question I want to challenge you to discuss as a hub is what's one of the aspects of the promise that you know God has made to you? Like a promise that he has made clear to you through the preaching of his word, maybe through some sort of prophetic moment. I know earlier today, Kobe, you were telling me about like this prophetic sort of dream or vision God gave you in your life. Let's share that. It might be short term. It might be lifelong. Like here's who God has called me to be, or here's where I know he's taking me. But let's get a little vulnerable today and a little bit joyful and share, I know that God's at work in my life and this is where he's leading me. Now, that's probably immediately in your mind leading some of you to think about the river that runs through that destiny, because it feels a little crazy to share audacious faith when we feel like both we and everyone we share it to is super super aware of the impossibility of that dream. And you think of this for Joshua, the first act of leadership he had was to lead the people where they had never gone before. This was a crucial moment in his life and leadership, but it's the same for you and I when we step out in faith and say, I still know God has called me there. I know I can't see how he's going to do it. Yeah. Like I believe God's got an incredible business in my life, an entrepreneurial idea, but I just don't know how it's going to play out. Or I believe God's got an incredible family for my future, but right now I'm not seeing how the dots are going to be connected, but I'm going to trust God together. So fight through the temptation to downplay the promise because the river runs through it. Let's continue to hold on to the promise. And then the second thing I want you to discuss, if you could, aware of the impossibilities that might exist between where you are and where you're going, The reminder is this, that they had to take a step into the water. There was still a first step to be taken, and then God acted. Often we say, God, once you do a miracle, just watch how I'm going to obey. It's going to be crazy, but you got to make the miracle very evident first. I've just found in my life, usually God is asking for me to take a first step of faith. And so maybe you could, in your hub, discuss what would a first step look like towards that promise. What would a first step, maybe even into the impossible, look like or feel like? Maybe there is a small, practical thing you could do even right now and be reminded of that. And then the last thing is that I don't even know if I really highlighted this on Sunday, but as the story ended, they made it through the river, they made it into the promised land, and the last thing God asked them to do was to build an altar, a reminder of what he had brought them through, to take some stones from the middle of the river and place them so that for generations to come, they could look back and say, that's what God did. This river right here, at the most impractical time possible, God did a miracle in my life. And I want to ask you, maybe in your own life, have there been altar-type moments where you say, this is how I remind myself of who God is. This is how I remind myself of what he's done in my life. And so maybe like a practical altar for you, a practical reminder. Some you might be as practical as like, I have a tattoo and it reminds me of this, or some it might be, I do this practice every day, or I do this practice yearly to remind myself, and I've positioned this reminder in my life, or I got these friends holding me accountable, reminding me of where I've come from. But let's just honor God today. I just feel like this whole hub is a God honoring type of conversation. Here's where I know he's taking me. Here's the first step I could take to obey and show my trust in God. And here's an altar that reminds me of how far he's already brought me through. Because here's the truth. I have found that as many people as I meet, I'm convinced of this, that your life is not just about one big miracle moment. It is miracle upon miracle upon miracle upon miracle. The step of faith that you've taken, though incredible, is probably not the biggest step of faith you will take in your life. The breakthrough, though significant, is probably not the biggest breakthrough that God has. And the promise that he has for you is probably way better than you could possibly expect right now. So let's keep on moving. Let's keep on going forward. And this Sunday, let's be at church at home. It's going to be an awesome week, okay? We love you guys. Have an awesome time with your hub. Okay.
Is that it?
I think that's it.